In my IS, I examined depictions of Chinese martial masculinities in two sources, the Dianshijai Huabao and In Accordance with the Imperial Edict, Complete Illustrations of the Heretical Religion. In Accordance with the Imperial Edict, Complete Illustrations of the Heretical Religion was an anti-Christian, anti-foreign pamphlet written before 1891. My second source was the Dianshijai Huabao. The Dianshijai Huabao was a pictorial owned by Englishman Ernest Major and showed scenes from everyday life in Shanghai. During the late 19th century, Chinese thinkers tried to establish who or what the Chinese nation was. Ideas of who should be included in the Chinese nation circulating at this time ranged from Wang Fuzhi's notion of the nation that excluded Manchus as illegitimate outsiders, to Kang Youwei's idea that everyone should tear down the 9 barriers separating families, nations, humans from animals, as well as 6 other barriers, which was essentially the opposite of a nation. These ideas manifested themselves in depictions of the Chinese martial figure. Here, a southern Chinese writer suggests that northerners are part of an entirely separate China. The man who throws the dart is a biaoshi. The writer assumed that the southern Chinese audience would not know what about biaoshi was, so he explained the biaoshi in terms of Westerners' insurance. This writer's idea of the Chinese nation, therefore, only consisted of southern China. In this image, the masculine Chinese forces attack the Japanese in an epic battle. Notice how the Japanese forces all wear Western uniforms, and how they all stand in line with similar expressions. If it were not for the multitude of Japanese flags, we might not know that this was a Japanese unit. On the Chinese side, each of the figures is unique, and each of them is Chinese. With or without the flag, it would be hard to mistake these soldiers for anyone other than Chinese soldiers. In this image from In Accordance with the Imperial Edict, Johann portrayed another take on the Qing Empire as the Chinese nation, with martial figures deliberately acting under the authority of a magistrate, suggesting imperial authority, to inflict violence on 2 separate symbols of the West. While China was not yet a nation, different ideas of who the Chinese nation consisted of circulated. The dominant idea across many of these sources was that the Chinese nation was the Chinese Empire while under Qing rule.